Hello, and this is my presentation on my project CropML, using deep learning techniques to predict plant diseases to increase crop yield. My name is Sheil Dharan, and I go to Denmark High School in Alpharetta, Georgia, and this fall I'll be a senior. My extracurricular activities is being the chapter president of the Future Business Leaders of America, a research intern at Georgia Tech and NASA, and a local community advocate fighting for issues in my community. In addition, I have interest in earth and planetary sciences and computational biology, which are two things that I hope to pursue in my future in college major as well as future career. So before I get into my project, I'd like to talk a little bit about global health. Global health is the area of study, research, and practice that places a priority on improving health and achieving equity for all people worldwide. And this not only includes traditional global health issues like you might think of like pandemics, but also other issues such as food insecurity. And food insecurity is a global health issue because up to 40% of the annual global crop production is lost due to plant diseases and pests. In addition, it's estimated that crop yield must increase to 60% to feed the world's growing population by the year 2050, which is kind of counterintuitive when we're losing so many crops. Finally, 30% of the world experiences moderate to severe food insecurity, which means that already it's a huge issue and it's really, uh, a lot of people are struggling with this global health issue. So, what are the current issues that we have? First, there's a lack of awareness. Many small farmers, especially those in developing countries, don't have the knowledge to identify different crop diseases. And this leads to them using a wide array of pesticides to deal with these pests when they have them because they're just trying to increase their crop yield and they might not have the knowledge about how dangerous they can be. Because these pesticide overuse is actually a global health issue as well. Because they can be dangerous to the workers in the fields who are exposed directly to these pesticides, also the consumers who have products that have a lot of pesticides on them that are also oftentimes unnecessary to treat the diseases that are affecting the crops. If the farmers were able to classify the specific disease and find a specific treatment option, then they wouldn't need to use these wide array of pesticides and could more sustainably deal with these diseases as well as increase their crop yield higher. So what was the engineering goal for this project? First, I needed to classify several plant diseases at a high accuracy. I needed to work on a common device so the farmers didn't need to purchase anything else because they're already in a developing country. Third, it needs to require little user input because of the lack of knowledge of plant diseases. It needs to be scalable across the globe. This is essentially making sure that it needs no internet access because when you're working in the field, you definitely don't have internet access when you're in the middle of the field. And finally, it needs to be no cost to all users because this is truly a global health issue. And to make the most impact, it needs to be all farmers can use it no matter what to increase their crop yield. So what did I use to kind of classify the plant diseases? I made a convolutional neural network, which is a machine learning model that's typically used for image classification. And what it does is it derives useful features from images and it makes predictions based on what they learned. And due to the nature of this model, it's really good at classifying numerous classes of images at a high accuracy, which is important because a lot of the plant diseases may be looking similar, but when you need to have a lot of different classifications across different crops, it's really good to have this type of model for that. And in simple terms, how a convolutional neural network works is it will essentially um, break the image down into features and put it and then pull the images and flatten the layers. And from there, it'll be input into a neural network, which initially will have random knobs. But after the model continues to train and train, the knobs will get adjusted. And when you finally get to the output layer, the accuracy will be maximized by the end of the model. So the procedures for my images was first acquire the data from a plant disease database online for public use. Next, I created a model in Google Colab using Python and the TensorFlow machine learning library. Next, I tested the model. So 60% of the data was used for training, 20% was used for validation to make any final adjustments to the machine learning model, and then 20% was used for testing the actual model for its accuracy. Finally, I also included field data to make sure that the model wasn't overtrained to the specific data set I used, but could also work in real life situations where the images aren't as perfect as they were in the data set, as you can see in the top left. Finally, I used the weights from the model and exported them into a deployable app. So here's a little demo of my app. As you can see here, this is the CropML icon. So this is the icon for the app. And once you click on it, you will be presented with a start screen that'll have instructions where you can for the app. And once you click the start button, you can take a photo. So here's me taking a photo of a plant image. So this, as you can see, with the name at below, it was a grape leaf with Eskimo measles, and you can see that's the classification down here below. In addition to taking a photo, you also have the opportunity to choose a photo. So if you don't want to bring your phone into the field, you can just take the photo in the fields and then kind of look at them later by uploading them from your photo library. And this is again correct classification with a corn leaf with the gray leaf spot. So for the results of the model, we found that there was a 93.67% accuracy on the testing data, which the model had never seen, and a slightly lower but highly accurate 92.12% accuracy on the model when on the field data that wasn't from the data set, which is more like what you're going to be seeing when you're actually in the fields and identifying plant diseases. And then with the app, you can see that we also had a high accuracy with 90 with about like 92% being accurate. So this is a confusion matrix, and this would be true positives, which is the correct classifications of the correct disease, and false positives, which is correct classifications of no disease. Um, yeah, and you can see that it's also highly accurate when it's deployed in the app, which means that it can really make an impact in classifying plant diseases, although there is still some improvements to be made in accuracy. So the conclusions and impacts in the world, we can kind of summarize this by saying that this app can be deployed in developing countries to allow farmers to easily identify specific diseases. And this early disease detection can allow farmers to take early steps when they see a disease. They know it's a disease. They can take sustainable methods to kind of eradicate the disease and maximize their global crop yield instead of using those wide range pesticides. Second off, they can also have uh, it can also, again, reduce this pesticide, herbicide, insecticide use, protect the global health of those consumers and farmers that are actually working in the fields and spraying these pesticides, as it can be really dangerous to them. And finally, this app is really scalable because it can already classify 38 different crop diseases across 14 different species of crops, but it can easily scale to more with the nature of the convolutional neural network, and it also requires no internet access, which is perfect for when you're working in the fields. So looking towards the future, there's definitely some improvements that I'd like to make into the app, including improving the accuracy, because you want to make sure that you're getting the correct disease so you can have the right treatment option in the future. So first, I want to provide a sustainable treatment plan in the app to deal with the classified disease, not just tell you what the disease is, but how can the farmer sustainably treat it. Next, I want to have an optional platform for local farmers to discuss diseases and share pictures so they can kind of collectively talk about the diseases they're facing and how they sustainably deal with it. But of course, this would have to be an optional feature for people who actually have internet access, because the base level no internet access also always needs to be an option for those farmers who don't have access to internet. And finally, I want to have a log system for tracking disease progression in the crop field so they can see if their sustainable methods are actually making improvement, the diseases are getting eradicated, they're increasing their crop yield, and to just have a kind of an intuitive method of kind of improving themselves. Finally, here are my references, and I'd like to thank my teachers at Denmark High School as well as the Georgia State Science Fair for the support they've given me. Thank you for listening to my presentation, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact me at my email or LinkedIn provided on the screen. Thank you.